So Johnny Dixon has more officially opted out. There was no statement. We did have some reporting that came from Happy Valley Insider.com, Penn State rivals. They were the first ones to really just put the announcement out there that, hey, this was a possibility. Sources close to Johnny Dixon say that he is not going to play in the Peach Bowl. But when was that decision coming? When was that graphic going to show up and go out on social media saying, hey, I'm not playing in the Peach Bowl. I'm going to focus on the NFL draft. We did see that he opted into the Senior Bowl, but that was really all we had about Johnny Dixon. So, but then you go to practice. I'm still comfortable in the state of Pennsylvania. Did not travel for the Peach Bowl, but the media members that were there said we're looking around and said, okay, hey, Trey Wallace is here. Abdul Carter is practicing. Johnny Dixon isn't anywhere to be found. That's interesting that he's not at practice. So you put two and two together. James Franklin did how many Peach Bowl press conferences? He let us know about Kalen King's decision to play and also alluded to the fact that this will be his final game as a Nittany Lion unless something completely changes. And then now we have an answer about Johnny Dixon. So Dixon opting out of this game is not playing, and that means that the current rotation will be Kalen King, no Johnny Dixon. You do have Daquan Hardy, and most likely Cam Miller. So your two boundary corners here are Kalen King, Cam Miller, and then your slot is still Daquan Hardy. But this is where it really affects the defense because now we got to talk about Kalen King's situation. Kalen King is not playing a full game. He's not playing 100% of snaps. He might be alternating drives, for example. Maybe he plays the first drive and then plays the third, right? And the fifth, and then the seventh. Or he's going to be used in obvious passing situations, third and medium, third and long, in the red zone, right? Because James Franklin in that one presser said that Kalen King and Penn State were able to agree to a game plan, right? That he was going to have a specific plan for this game because they want to protect his draft stock at the end of the day. So now you have no Johnny Dixon. You have probably half the availability of Kalen King, which puts a lot more attention, a lot more responsibility on Cam Miller, who Penn State is very high on. They think that he can be that next, I don't want to say lockdown, shutdown, because Joey Porter Jr. set the bar pretty high, but Cam Miller can definitely be a solid cornerback for Penn State. And that's why you have the offseason for him to get better. But he instantly vaults into that number one cornerback next season. So this is the chance to do it when you have the wide receiver core that Ole Miss does, where any of them can act as a number one. So I would like to see Cam Miller matched up on Trey Harris, who is more of that obvious first choice. Trey Harris is 8 touchdowns for Ole Miss. So he's going to be a challenge, but he actually doesn't have the most receptions out of them. But besides the point, out of that trio, Jaxson Dart spreads the ball around evenly. Trey Harris has 47 receptions. The other two counterparts have 52 and 53 respectively. So it's a pretty even pace when it comes to that offense for Ole Miss. But now you think about, okay, Kalen King's going to be not as active in the rotation, meaning that it's going to be I think we're going to see Daquan Hardy play a full game because I still think he has a lot left to prove. I think that, yes, scouts are probably interested in his special teams ability because look at him. He becomes a punt returner overnight and has multiple touchdowns in the season for someone with limited punt returning experience after high school. So his special teams ability is interesting at the next level. But what about his defensive back, his pass defense? I think he's been really good. I think he came up strong this season after a down year in 2022. He was certainly not himself for whatever reason, but then bounced back strong in 2023. He has a lot to prove if he wants to play defensive back in the NFL. Cam Miller is going to see an increase in snap count. So who is up next? This is where it gets interesting. What is Penn State going to do? Are you going to put Elliott Washington out there on those veteran wide receivers for Ole Miss? Are you going to put Zion Tracy, Lamont Payne, who we haven't seen a lot of? Those are first-year freshman cornerbacks. What I think Penn State's going to do is what they've been doing for a lot of the season, and we saw this when Daquan Hardy wasn't available, and they had to rotate other guys in. They moved the safeties. That's all they did. I don't think they're going to put Elliott Washington out there. They might see some plays, but not for a majority of the game. You have KJ Winston coming back. I think we have Jalen Reed should be coming back. Jalen Reed, I anticipate. But those two, that dynamic duo at safety could be one of the better duos in the Big Ten next year. And yes, with the additions of those Pac 12 schools, those two are very good outside of just zone coverage. They can play man to man, and we've seen that. Jalen Reed go down into the slot, KJ Winston go into the slot as well, whether it's covering a tight end or a slot receiver. So that is what Penn State's going to do. I don't think they're going to try to challenge. This is not a challenging moment. You will see Elliott Washington get some playing time. I think you'll see Zion Tracy. Don't forget about King Mack as well. He's played some time in the slot, but Daquan Hardy's still playing in this game. So maybe not so much of King Mack, but more so of Elliott Washington, I would say, is the best of that bunch that I've named here for the freshman defensive backs. And remember, you can take these safeties and put them in man-to-man coverage because you still got Zach Wheatley. You have Zach Wheatley that can play center field and be that free safety, and he can play man coverage too. But I'm saying Penn State will have more safeties on the field rather than boundary cornerbacks, with Kalen King probably playing about half of the snaps here, maybe even less. That's just the fact of the matter. He's playing. Johnny Dixon is not. You do have Daquan Hardy, who I think is going to play a full game, as many snaps as he can, because this is his last chance to prove himself